Simon Hypixel dropped the biggest bombshell of the year after buying back Hytale. The Hytale legacy engine is back. We are back home. For 4 years, Hytale was lost in development hell, all fueled by a single horrible decision back in 2022, switching from the legacy engine to a C++ engine. We'll break down why the switch was Hytale's biggest mistake and why switching back is the only right move going forward. Released in 2013, Hypixel was a Minecraft server which hosts minigames. This was by far the most popular and most populated server of its kind. These minigames are either plugins or mods, and in this case they are plugins, because those are developed for the Java edition of Minecraft. The plugins use the Java programming language. So the origins of the developers of Hypixel, Simon and Philippe, are in Java Minecraft plugin development. So that means that them and the team have extensive knowledge and experience in Java, basically running the biggest Minecraft server at the time. While things were looking great, the costs of running such a massive server can quickly grow to immense proportions, costing around $100,000 every month. However, through many monetization options, this didn't prove to be an issue until the EULA changes. Oh boy. Minecraft regularly changes its EULA or end user license agreement. These are binding terms which players, modders, and server operators have to abide by. For many games, these are the 80 pages of legalese you simply skip in order to finally play the game. However, especially when you're a company or monetizing the game in some way, you have to carefully read this. Due to Minecraft effectively banning any sort of pay-to-win mechanics and microtransactions, the server's revenue dropped by 85%, with operating costs over 6 figures high. This was an untenable situation. The funding for the server had to come from somewhere. So, with some limited game development expertise, a team of 7 passionate people with lots of Java experience, 18 months of time, and $700,000 of funding, well, the race was on. The Hypixel devs were in their element, and the first official mention of their tech stack was in the blog post from 2019. Hytale's client is written in C# and the servers run on Java. And they even explain why they chose Java. As explained before, their backend team is very comfortable writing high-performance Java. In addition, the community, coming from Minecraft, was also used to working in Java for mods or plugins. So choosing Java for their server architecture was a no-brainer. But if it had so many positives, then why switch at all? After Hytale was sold to Riot Games in April 2020, things changed significantly. Simon was replaced by Noxy as the new CEO, the Hypixel team continued to grow, but most importantly, they also got some new leadership, which included a completely new board of directors. In their original FAQ, they wrote, "Will this change Hytale's technology, tools, or engine?" Their answer, not fundamentally. We'll continue to develop the Hytale game engine and toolsets according to our needs as developers, as well as the needs of future Hytale content creators. And this would prove to not be quite true. All throughout 2020 and 2021, the Hytale team continued to work on the legacy engine, made in C# and Java. However, the first update that was concerning was in summer 2021. First, they pushed back any possible launch date all the way to 2024. This means making major changes to Hytale's engine and our approach to launch, and this extends development time. Now, this prompted into a huge investigation into their technology, and from what I'm reading over here, they probably already switched engines towards the end of 2021, maybe possibly earlier. And they then wrote, "We spent a lot of time over the last year conducting a deep investigation into all of the things that we need to do in order to ensure that Hytale lives up to expectations. This investigation extends from the technology underpinning the game to the design and structure of Hytale itself." And the nail in the coffin was the announcement of the switch in summer 2022. We're aware that some eagle-eyed community members have already spotted that we've stopped listing Java and C# in our job descriptions. This is because we've made the decision to redevelop Hytale's engine, both the client and server, in C++. Now, of course, a C++ engine comes with many positives. The question is always, though, do they outweigh the negatives? It would have made the game multi-platform. Think about how Bedrock Edition for Minecraft is available on PC, mobile, and even consoles. It also would have likely provided performance benefits, but I think making it multi-platform was their main reason. Think about it in the context of when this was made. Let's consider Steam user members, for example. In November 2020, there were about 24 million concurrent users of Steam. We can basically consider this the best indication of the size of the PC gaming market, compared to November 2025, where we're at 41 million concurrent users. We're talking about an almost doubling in 5 years and no real contraction after the pandemic either. A PC-only game on the scale of Hytale is way more viable nowadays than it was 5 or 8 years ago. It remains, though, that the switch to the C++ engine was the fatal flaw that killed Hytale. Redeveloping the entire engine means that everything has to be thrown out. For the people who are not programmers or coders, I will explain how this decision was so incredibly horrible. In the past, they hired C# and Java developers. That's the programming languages that these people were happy and experienced in. While many programmers can use multiple languages, they are very different. Going from Java to C++ is a huge difference, even if it doesn't look like it. But not only that, they also had to throw out everything they did in the last 7 years. Let me explain it like this. Let's suppose for the last 7 years, you've written a complicated version of Lord of the Rings in French. Progress has been steady, but all of a sudden you or your publisher thinks, you know what, if you write this in Mandarin, it's going to have way more people be able to read it. Okay, however, you don't speak Mandarin, and in this example, there exists no dictionary. That's how it is, going from Java to C++ in this case. This meant for at least a few months, development would grind to a complete halt. Everything had to be made from the ground up. Java devs would first of all have to be onboarded to C++. Some of them might not be as comfortable in C++ as they are in Java, and even without knowing any of the internal details, I can imagine that this was a mess. In addition to all of this, modding would likely also become a distant afterthought. Even though they said otherwise, in C++, it might prove more difficult, depending on how they implement it. It's possible that ultimately the C++ engine would have been better for the future of the game, the long-term future. However, for the time being, when the decision was made, it was like pulling a handbrake in full force. This killed the entire momentum and effectively cancelled 7 years worth of progress in the game's development. So by summer 2025, when the final announcement came that Hytale was cancelled, they likely only had about 4 years of development for the C++ engine. Let's even say that they were efficient enough, but in my opinion, they likely were at most parity with a legacy engine they'd abandoned 4 years prior. But probably not even that. And with its cancellation, even all of that was completely down the drain. The savior Simon was crazy enough to buy Hytale back from Riot, said the following in his Hytale is saved blog post. The biggest thing to note is that there were 2 engines in development. The legacy engine, C# Java PC only, was quite advanced from 3 to 4 years ago. This is what was used in the trailer and most blog posts. And the cross-platform engine, C++, that's been in development for approximately 3 years. The cross-platform engine is significantly behind in terms of gameplay. We've made the decision to abandon the cross-platform engine and return to the legacy engine. It's playable now. It lets us build the game rather than an engine. It's the version that feels like what Hytale was supposed to be. As for the legacy engine, we have plans to make it cross-platform later. We are in no rush. In my mind, this confirms that the engine switch killed Hytale. Going back seems like a crazy decision, but it is the only right one. Simon is now coming in with a team of 30 former developers that all worked on Hytale. These are the original Java developers using their expertise and experience correctly. The issue with Hytale the entire time after Riot Games bought it is they were shooting for a perfect game. It's not ready yet. It's not the game you deserve. We need to fulfill your expectations. Phrases like this were constantly thrown around, as if people have never heard of early access, alphas, or betas. In fact, Minecraft itself had a hugely long alpha and beta phase, which was the reason for its eventual popularity. In essence, going back to the functional legacy engine to not only leverage the experience of the developers and the community, like promised so many years ago, it's the only right move to make. Early access will likely be rough, but if this is communicated beforehand, and it is, I can trust this way more than any scummy AAA studio trying to release an unfinished game for $80, riddled with bugs and not complete in the slightest. These shouldn't even be considered in the same universe. All of this to say, the only thing the community ever wanted was to play Hytale. Simon's philosophy is exactly what is needed right now. Make it exist first, you can make it good later. The community is hungry, and at least for me, I feel the hype is back. Maybe not as huge as when the trailer first hit, and I can understand some people still being skeptical. I can understand if you want to wait, but for me personally, I'm willing to take a chance on this now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos on Hytale, be it news, updates, gameplay, and mods, or even more. See you in the next video. So, yeah.